recording. Okay, the recording sign is on. The only thing I have to do is go on stage so I can be annoyed by people who want to come join us. Questions, etc. Come join us in the Discord if you wish. You have to know how to go to the stage. Yeah, I see Dennis is there. Raise your hand in there if you want to, if you want to bother me and be kind of in our studio audience and chime in. You can say whatever you want. Just know you're going to be recorded for time and eternity. Good summary of exit. Oh, thank you, Maluba. Thank you. So what we're going to talk about today, we've had a number of questions come in already. We are a little bit early. We're kind of ahead of schedule. I do need to change the title. Questions, conversations, and I put advice. I only put those things in there. I don't see any hands up yet, so you're welcome to come join us, though. If you want to come us on Discord or in the Twitch, you want to come on Twitch and have your chat appear on screen within reason. Of course, please be nice. Oh, wow, we got some fun people in there. So, yeah, come on in on the Discord. All right, so we are going to, you can join it. You don't have to join. It's just if you feel like it. But I want that option to be there for you. So Anya from Twitch, Annieski, we call her. I'm gonna give her a shout out. He does every time. I know it's kind of a thing. Please, I don't want to get it weird. It's just somebody you should watch. Let's put it that way. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go back to the question: where should I get my domain name? Somebody was asking me about. I think it was Anya was asking about my GG domain. How much does it set me back? My email is RWX is rob@rwx.gg. I do have the appropriate spam filters and stuff. My provider for email is Proton Mail. I'm a big proponent of them. I'm whatever they have their highest level sponsor. I don't need it all, but I pay them $60 a month or something because I believe in Proton Mail. I have nothing to do with them. I'm not making money from them. I just like what they're doing when they're not handing over IP addresses to protesters in France, which really made me angry. Anyway, so let's look up domains. So how much is rwx.gg on Namecheap? So this question involves a couple of answers. First of all, which DNS provider should you get? Now, if you don't know what a DNS provider is, DNS stands for domain name service. A domain, rwx.gg is a domain, google.com is a domain, etc. A domain is the kind of human-friendly thing that goes with an IP address or a number of IP addresses. You can assign more than one IP address. The IP address is like the home address of a computer, and they change or whatever. And a computer can have multiple IP addresses. We won't get into the full networking thing, but if you don't know about how networking works and that, you can go ahead and understand this. But that's DNS 101 and the TLDR on what DNS is. If you're a hacker and you want to attack a company, one of the greatest ways to do that is to attack the domain registrar and take over the DNS name because they can't do anything about it. All the traffic will be routed to the other place, or to create a domain that looks kind of like the one that you're trying to attack, and you just need to be aware of that. So, how much do these things cost? Now, let's go through the providers first of all. I'm going to eliminate all the providers. I'm going to tell you why I think these are the best. And I want to say again, I have no affiliation whatsoever other than being a customer of these places. And I promise you, every time I say that, I mean it. I'm not like getting a NordVPN sponsorship on the side, which by the way is trash. I can't believe people are sponsoring NordVPN. It's absolute trash. And I don't want to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later. So Namecheap.com is one of the best providers. They have the lowest prices that I've found. They actually have some of the domains that you normally can't get. And the other service that I used to have is something called Joker.com, which is still around. I don't believe I have any domains over there anymore. I have to go check. Joker.com, I got domains back in the 90s because it was a German-based company. And it's kind of nice having domains that are provided outside of the United States. If you live in the U.S., particularly if you are interested in keeping your domain and control of your domain and not having, somebody. I think that might be a false sense of security, though, because I do think that if the United States, ordered you to give up your DNS records, that they would do it. But it is another country, so it'll be a little bit of a hassle if you did it that way. So I actually wanted to register my domains outside of the US. And by that time, there was another really horrible company. I cannot overstress how bad Big Daddy is. Okay. Big Daddy Domains or whatever. And I don't want to make this just about this company or GoDaddy, whatever the hell. But I want to give you the reasons that I think that this place is horrible. Okay. First of all, their initial advertising campaign used women's breasts to sell domain names. And everybody's like, what's wrong with women's breasts selling domain names? I'm like, okay, if you think that's fine, great. Number two, they hold everything hostage. I can tell you account after account after account of people who have reported to me in Twitch and in person of them holding domains hostage. Number three, we had somebody who used to work in GoDaddy, who I don't want to dox, who said, if you knew the internals of that, you would know that I reported that this was going to be a problem, and it turned out to be a big problem, the whole transfer of domains thing. So if you want to go into the biggest, darkest abyss of a provider, which you never want to do with your domain, I mean, that's the most sacred thing to you of all. So why would you ever go to GoDaddy? Don't go to GoDaddy. Stay away from GoDaddy. That's all I'm going to say about that. You've heard it. People have web addresses from them. Background, stocking photo. Yeah, I just stay away from them. They charge you way too much money. Namecheap is kind of getting marketing-y a little bit more lately. There's another place you can go called Free DNS. What is it called? What is it? It's not Namecheap. It's is it Free DNS? Which is the one? Which is the one where you can get It's where all the hackers go. I can't remember it now. It's really dangerous though, because your domain will get blocked because XYZ domains and stuff like that. There's a bunch of, what is it? What's this one called? Oh my God. Wow. That's horrible. So hard to hear it. Really hard. It's hard to hear. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about free DNS. It's not no IP. What is it? I can't remember it. It's driving me crazy. That's what I do for doing it live. It's driving me nuts. I can't remember. I cannot remember it. Oh, I guess it's not important. There is a place you can go get a free DNS. Is it? It's not duckdns.org, is it? That's dynamic DNS. This is different. This is cool, and you got to watch out for these. But that is a good one. I wonder if they're gone now. I can't remember the name. I thought it was Freenom. Yes, thank you, Freenom. It's Freenom for sure. Yeah. Yes, a free name for everyone. All right, so if you want to use Freenom, and a lot of people have used Freenom, a lot of friends of mine have used Freenom, just be aware that when it won't even load for me. What the hell? Did I offend them or something? And now they're not going to load? Okay, there we go. Change your DNS to whatever. No, I don't want to. So Freenom, they don't have any GG stuff, so they don't have any of that, but they have a bunch of other stuff, right? So they have TK. Actually, I have a domain through them with a .tk domain. They have ML. They have CF and QQ. I mean, they have a lot of them, right? And they have some that don't cost any money. But you can go over here and look. And we've had people get Freenoms through here. You got to be careful because some of the domains do get banished from services. They get blocked automatically. But that's where you go. And then we'll come back to my favorite lately, which was Namecheap. And you can see so if I was to do RWX, you can see the .coms. The .coms are always expensive. And what's up with the .gg, with the whole game thing? I actually registered this. I think I'm still the one who had that. I can't remember. Maybe not. Anyway, you can come over here and check all kinds of fun names. And if you're anything like me, you end up collecting unused domain names all the time. Because it's always like, it's the aspiration. It's like buying exercise equipment. It's like, I'm going to exercise. That's the hope of exercising one day. It's like, I'm going to buy a domain and eventually I'm going to make the most amazing thing out of it. I have this great idea, and the domain name is like, oh, I better lock down that domain name because I don't want someone to steal it, even though I haven't made anything yet. I have an addiction, people. I'm not proud. It's an addiction. I do. I'm embarrassed at how much money I pay for DNS records that I never use. And I don't sell them. It's not like I'm going to, like, people do that, right? They squat and then they sell them. I have some great ones, man. I do. I don't even remember all of them. I don't want to pull them up right now. It'll just make me sad. But get around to selling recording one. Oh, nice. Yeah, well, we're not doing that right now. Right now we're doing, questions, conversations, and stuff. We're actually making a YouTube video answering specific questions. This question being, how much is a GG going to set me back? Anya Askey, GG, is available for $68 per year. That's not bad. It's come down. That's come down. That's not bad at all. I think Dev went up too. Dev is managed by Google, by the way. Oh, by the way, when you're buying domain names, keep in mind that some of them are managed by other providers that have extra documentation you have to go through, which is a real pain. Oh my God, it's a pain. So be careful. Make sure to read the fine print. And most importantly, make sure you click on this I next to the domain, because that's what has all the fine print. It's like, this isn't our domain. This is a domain over here. You have to go through this country process. All the streamers have GGs. That's cool. Yeah, Oniaski is at GG. You can totally get it. A dev is like $12 a year. Hey, binary digit. So let's try the binary digit. So binary digit. If binary digit was a dev or a developer, binary digit could go. Your .com domain is $20,000. I might not get that until you're successful. It's just a word of a business advice. Wait to buy your domain name until you can just like fork it over. There's not even a dev available. Dev's already taken. Yeah, this is, by the way, this is why I spelled my name SkillStack when I made it, because I still own that. I just never use it. You could buy some of these other ones and break me. Yeah. Whoa, GG's open. No, I'm not doing that because I already have skillstack.io. Yeah, this is me. 2013. That was when I started my company. So yeah, word of advice. Oh, .tech is really cheap, by the way. .tech is really cheap. Yeah, watch. RVX.tech. $325 a year? How is that premium? Oh, you know why? Because there's only 3 letters. Anything with only 3 letters is way more money. Yeah. So Robert.tech, is that a thing? How's this not taken? 60, what the hell? All right, how about Fubar.tech? Senior dog all day. No, I locked her out. Because I vacuumed my floor like 5 times because I had massive inflammation attack last night. If you must know. Fubar.net. Fubar.gg is only $68 a year. What? Fubar. What can we do with that? What can we make at Fubar.gg? We can make a new Zombocon. Zombocon. Hello there, Templar. Welcome to the YouTube video that you're now in. Just letting everybody know. Say hi to your mom on YouTube. Okay. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. There's nothing more to say. This is the best place to like check the prices. They have really great prices here. I've noticed that the prices sometimes change depending on searching and where and the time of day. I think they have some sort of AI going on the background. Just let you know about that. Hey, Kritzko, you come on back. Welcome to all of our friends also in Discord. I haven't been watching Discord very much, but welcome to everybody. Pork bun has a free .app and .dev domain for a year. Just one video how to implement foobar the right way. Want to bring you up in what, Kritzko? I don't know what you want to. I don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about domain names as well. Are you in the chat right now? If you're in the chat, just raise your hand and I can invite you. Are you? Oh, there we go. All right, come on in. How you doing?
Yo, what's up, bro? What's up, Shrimp?
What's up? Okay.
Just came back from getting some beers.
You went and got beer? Mr. Shells, are you going to join us? I think that's Matt, actually. He's just chilling. He's just chilling in the Discord. All right. Yeah. Well, we were talking about domains. Do you have a domain name? Don't tell us unless you want to.
Yeah, I do. But
you're not going to tell
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
No.
Do you mind telling us how much you paid for your domain? And how you went about getting and what your domain, your feelings are on acquiring a domain. Did you get to GoDaddy? Please don't say yes.
No. Definitely not GoDaddy. They're like a ripoff. But how much do I pay? I actually have a good price because I got it through my job, so to speak.
Nice.
So we have enterprise support for this big company, and I guess I shouldn't really dox myself where I work.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could say that I guess you could say I pay about $200 a year.
Wow, yeah. Well, that's about right. I mean, the GG domains are like $60-$70 a year, and so there's some like 10-year-olds that I would help out, and they were like, that's too much. Their moms would come back. They would like go to sign up for their moms were like, no, that's too expensive. And I'm like, yeah. You understand what you're going to do? You're going to motivate your son or daughter to like make this amazing website on this new domain, and you're going to deny them that for $70 a year. You're like, well, we didn't. Why are you charging us extra money?
Yeah, I mean, my parents are old school, so like when I told them, hey, you guys need to upgrade your internet plan because like it was so bad, man. It was like their download upload it was terrible. You guys are getting robbed.
Yeah, so. I mean that's the plight of the tech family member, right? The burden we have to bear every Thanksgiving. We hear about everybody's virus problems and.
Yeah, I'm kind of like the go-to IT guy in my family. So
yes, that's actually a fun topic all by itself. How do you deal with being the family go-to guy? Let's do that one.
Should start charging them.
Yeah. Being the family IT person. I'm actually making that a question. This is a fun question. All right, everybody out there. So this is a question to the audience as well. What do you do? How do you handle being the go-to IT person for your family / neighborhood? I have a fun story about this from somebody that told me. But I want to hear what y'all have to say. Anybody have a good story where you save the day by having IT skills for your family? Anyone have anything to say about that? I know it takes a while to process. Also, they're typing. I'll tell you about my story while you guys are thinking about it. So, this team viewer. Oh, I have to limit my IT help to only your mom, dad, and brother. I deny other requests. For a favor, team viewer for the win. I think I've never used TeamViewer. What the heck is TeamViewer? Is that a way of like having control of their computer?
Pretty much.
TeamViewer is remote access. That's like GoTo PC or whatever. It used to like go to my PC. You know that thing where it was like remote desktop access. That's the only place I probably shouldn't say that. I was on Shodan.io one night with my wife. I was just laying in bed, just randomly looking at computers on Shodan, and there it was. People had completely open remote desktop access, just sitting there. TeamViewer's remote access to remote control computer software, like maintenance of computers. Resist 2005. How is it? Is this better than? This is cool. That's the first time I've heard of it. Maybe I'll think of that. You know what else you can do?
It's kind of like a ripoff. They like want you to pay for it. Like if you get the regular, you can download it for free, right? So and then it's someone remotes in. It's super slow and laggy. It's like pay $5 or whatever to have actual RDP connectivity where it's like.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Could you use some form of VNC? Because I'm trying to figure out like if I go on a road trip and I need to restart NoAlbs, which is the thing that controls my live stream, remotely without, switch shifting to an entire cloud setup. I think I could, but it's a graphic application, so technically it's not, but having desktop access would be a thing. Team viewers would be a thing like that, right? I could probably do that, but I'm thinking I could just do it with VNC and RT remote desktop.
VNC. And you have Google Remote Desktop. You can go from your phone. I mean, it's a little tedious. Like if you just have to reboot something, it's perfect for that. Or if you have to if you're logging into like a game and it's like a long wait or something like that, it's cool.
Yeah,
that's what I used.
Mm-hmm. It is what you use. Okay. Well, this is good. This is good information because I have not. That's not a thing that I've been doing. Matt has just joined us. Matt, how do you have an opinion on this topic? This whole remote access thing, or your favorite?
Oh yeah, I do a lot of remote support, and I haven't had any issues with TeamViewer lag wise.
Interesting.
I don't want to say where I'm at, but my mom's pretty far from me, and I remote into her machine because she's like totally computer illiterate.
Huh. I did today. I learned that it's a thing. I did not. The last time I heard of anything even similar to this was go to my PC, which was
there's multiple options like Velocity was saying VNC. That's another.
VNC is the one that's the one I would if I were going to set it up on my own system. But if I'm instructing somebody, I'm going to help to install something.
I'd say go with TeamViewer.
Yeah. And you can just talk them through where to click to get it installed, and
you can actually set up PCs that have permissions, to where only you can connect it.
Very, very cool. Well, okay, so that is I was expecting this to be a fun question, and I feel instructed about this. So if you're the family IT person, I do. Does anybody raise your hand if you've been asked to fix a Windows virus, even though your entire life has been dedicated to Linux systems administration? Because they just know you're a computer
I'm a
guy.
Linux guy, but I mean, when Windows stuff pops up at work, oh my God, I kind of want to steer away.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know. Like, wait, you're a computer guy.
Me and this other guy at my work, we in ops, we handle a lot of stuff, and patching is one of them. When we patch all these servers monthly for non-prod and prod, and when a Windows thing comes up, oh, it just didn't get patched, or they're doing like application patching. It's like, I'm not handling Windows shit. I'm AFK.
What? Can't hear you.
You're glad you're not handling the Windows stuff because a lot of Microsoft's recent Patch Tuesday patches are breaking shit left and right.
Oh my God.
I do a lot of the patching too at my organization.
And
we that's the job. Until recently, I convinced them to deploy our first Linux server. So, and they're starting to see how easy it is to patch.
In 2021 or 22, they're deploying their first Linux server.
Yep.
Congrats. I mean, I remember that struggle at Nike myself.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the people they're just still afraid. There's still people that are afraid of Linux. They're still all they hear is Steve Ballmer's old words. Linux is a viral operating system, and they have no idea what that means, even though he's not there anymore.
I think it goes all the way back to like public education or just education in general. Like everything's out of date, man. And even in high school 10 years ago, they were in computer science. They were teaching Java first. I'm like, Java. What?
They're still doing
that even in the university, man.
They're still teaching Java in AP Computer Science, single inheritance.
Yep. I took AP Computer Science in my junior year, and I argued with I didn't have an argument, but I was just I was kind of like a nerd, but I kind of was a little bit athletic. Like I did football, but I kind of did I was a big World of Warcraft player, so I was always into computer technology. And when I was into computer science, I had this teacher. He was cool. He came from a private school, and I was like, so, if you have the choice to not teach Java, why are you teaching Java?
Yeah.
And then university, same thing, Java.
To be fair though, I have had. It's funny because I actually had a phone conversation with the creator of the AP Computer Science test back in I want to say 2014. I was dead set on when I started SkillStack. I wanted to be. I wanted to assist the existing educational institutions to get better. And kind of be a consultant for them to help them teach things that are relevant and that are going to help people, get jobs as early as 16. And if Gabe is still here, raise your hand. He's one of the ones who did have he had his own intern at 18. So, it is possible. And one of the things that I'll never forget that this guy said, he had to kind of disassociate himself with the whole thing because he was like, oh yeah, that was like a long time ago. They have no intention of keeping anything up to date. It was based on principles that were relevant in, 1990, whatever. And we're talking about institutions that they were still, the classes they were taking, not only were teaching that, they were teaching, they were putting like the marquee tag as mandatory learning in their HTML classes because the material was so old and there was no way it could keep up. And it was just so frustrating. But, and so I decided I was going to like throw it out. I wasn't going to do it. People called me to come teach their AP program. I was like, no, I don't do AP. And I know Java, I did it at IBM. That's what I was hired for. Anyway, single inheritance is a problem, blah, blah, blah. We had a guy get a question wrong because he answered that indexes start with 0. And he literally got that question wrong, and we just went up in arms and complained about it. And I've been complaining about, I have a Medium blog actually about this that's pretty over the top, because I got so upset about it. But since that time, I've come to realize that I think that there are a number of things that are taught in Java. I honestly don't know what the best language is. I would have like right away said Python before, but some of the things about learning a strictly typed language up front, as annoying as that is, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? My initial impression is that learning a more difficult language that is strictly typed could potentially create better habits when you go to a looser language like Python or JavaScript, as opposed to the reverse. Or should we ease them in by teaching them, not teaching, loosey-goosey languages like JavaScript and Python or Ruby, and then throwing them to the wolves in college when they have to learn C and Java and C++ and Rust and all that? Go.
I mean, Rob, you bring up very interesting points, and I think what it is like, I think a CS 101 or the first CS class in university, it shouldn't even be jumping right into writing your first lines of code. It really should be the history of programming. So the student,
I agree.
Especially if you're a computer science major, right? It should be like, the history of C and this, and because everything's opinionated nowadays because you have so many flavors out there, right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I mean, I guess I would beg that to differ, probably Python in all reality, because there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah, and I did teach Python.
I'd like to chime in. I was working at a university for about 6 years, and I was taking advantage of some of my free educational benefits. And they started it off like you had mentioned, Velocity. They started us off with like a wide angle overview, like programming history, and then we got into. They started us with a Python. Because I was working on finishing my bachelor's in cybersecurity, and then things went south there, so I moved into the financial institution for my current position.
Yeah.
And transferred my credits to an online degree program. But they started us with Python, like intro to Python.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Python is kind of moved into the mainstream here. For the record, I mean, that was the first language we taught in 2013 to people to kind of counter the Java thing. And then Python has since become kind of the standard for beginners. In fact, even MIT has changed now. They teach Python first, from what I saw. So, and I've seen problems with Python, and I won't get into right now. The biggest being that it creates language bigots because they get so easy. It's so easy to code in Python and they don't know what a curly bracket is at all. So when they see other languages, they kind of refrain from them. And I personally have observed people not ever leaving Python because it did everything they needed. And the point here, I want to make a point about your Velocity, about your history. I think the history is really important because if you teach the history of computer languages and computer programming from the perspective of what problem was being solved, See, this is the thing that academia doesn't really get still. They're not practical. In fact, the word practical is used as an insult in some academic circles. But if you taught the history of programming and you said, okay, here's what we were solving. We needed this thing to help tabulate census data, or we needed this thing to help do this. And by the way, the history of, I'm going to make a plug for this. I'm probably going to start reading it on stream. I just happen to have it right here. Again, I have no affiliation whatsoever with these people, but this is a book I highly recommend. Walter Isaacson's The Innovators, and it's on my desk here because I'm considering. I don't know if it's a copyright violation. I kind of don't care, but I'm considering actually reading it on stream a little bit every day, just for fun. Because it is just so chock full of answering that question about where computer programming languages came from. Not just that, but where technology and innovation has come from. And always in the context of what was the need and what were we solving. And the sooner you can get anyone, but particularly a newbie, thinking about the problems that they're fixing, the better. Because that's what IT is about. People forget that IT is not about playing with the latest tech. Anybody here a manager who has to deal with people that all they want to do is play with the latest tech? You didn't see the title? Oh, let me type it for you. The title is The Innovators by Walter Isaacson. Innovators. And actually, he talks about Isaacson, I think. In his preface, he talks about this is the book he's always wanted to make, and the Steve Jobs book gave him the money to make the book he always wanted to make. So you can tell he was very passionate about it. It's very well written. And, stay tuned. I might actually read a little bit of that on stream eventually if I can get myself organized. So, yeah, we can leave that. I mean, that's funny that conversation came about from the whole family thing. And I just want to read a couple of the comments from the chat. Microsoft doesn't test anything anymore. That's pretty definitive statement there. Anya says, my magnet school taught Visual Basic. And Visual Basic isn't horrible. And then you learn C's in college. Okay. Maluba asks, have you ever been involved in changing an official curriculum? It's nearly impossible to do and get past certification. Maluba, I want to talk about this for a second because I actually did. And I'm going to indulge myself here a little bit with a story. So if you know me, I'm always about changing the status quo and challenging it, and especially in education. And I was actually asked before my divorce to join the technology advisory committee for a local community college and for a local middle school that I'm very proud to say President Obama visited as being the lead school of the nation in its one-to-one technology deployment. They partnered with Apple and had one-to-one. They're one of the first schools in the nation to have everybody have a Mac instead of textbooks and stuff. It turned out to be a total fail, and they had to have textbooks too anyway, and the Mac, which was just too heavy, and they actually had to outlaw pulling carts with wheels and kids actually had deformities on their backs because their backpacks were so heavy. I could go on and on and on. They were replacing screens for free every day because Apple couldn't keep up with how many screens were breaking. But during that time, we got to answer a lot of the questions about, well, what is the best way to learn and introduce technology to students and stuff like that. And, the home lab thing. And it turned out to be, it turned out, so people did ask if we could get it to help them, but in the process of, so all of that, was to state the fact that it's really, really hard to change the status quo, even if you have the money and the approval to do so. Hey, Tomato. So that's the first part of the story. So the second part of the story is, while I was at SkillStack, I actively sought in 2013, 2014 to get accredited. Because at the time, I very naively thought that if I was going to be an educational institution worth their salt, that I had to get accredited. And this is related to Maluba's question. So that's how I met the person who created the AP Computer Science test and everything. I reached out to them, which, is a thing you can do. You can get on the internet. It's amazing. The internet is a thing. You should look into it. And I was able to make these contacts. And But a part of the process was I actually studied, and I don't remember who I talked to, but I talked to a couple people about the college accreditation process. And I mean, I could talk for 20 minutes just on that. But I'm going to tell you that the process is disastrously bad. In fact, during the process of research, I discovered that there was an accreditation. There are several accreditation organizations that get the green light from the government or whoever to be somebody who can stamp you as accredited. And there was actually one that was doing it faster than the others. And I'm talking about, 6 months instead of a year. And they got canned because they were corrupt and they were just getting paid off to sign accreditation for people. And so the people that hold the accreditation stamp in their hand have a whole bunch of bureaucratic things that they have to go through. And much of that, by the way, is controlled by, anybody want to guess? The same organization that controls the SAP exam, the same organization. It's the biggest, most monstrous, organization out there, and they control everything, and they control accreditation. And so these colleges that are trying to teach technology, I mean, it takes them from what the last time I heard, and it could have been wrong, but what I was reading was that it can take up to a full year to get a single course approved, and the curriculum has to be written in stone. It has to be, non-changing. They have to evaluate how it's taught. They have to look at how good it is, and that any curriculum has to go through this process. And the first thing I thought when I saw this is I just put my hands in the air. I'm like, this is insane. There is no way this process can ever keep up with technology. Technologists in the industry have a term called framework fatigue because we can't even keep up. And we're not teaching people to learn fast. How possible can this bureaucratic organization that's in charge of accrediting a good institution, and I'm all for accreditation. There are the opposite problems as well, right? People that hold a boot camp in their front room with, cookies and milk and give everybody, certificates and send them on their way. That's also a problem. So, you got regulation on the one hand, and you got accreditation. You got these big monstrous companies that are nonprofit that make tons of money and control all of the I mean, it really is, the 1970s boomer kind of idea of the man. They completely control the whole system. And if you don't bow down to them, you don't get accredited. And I was like, okay, do I play in this system at SkillStack, or do I continue to do my own thing and let people make their own decisions? And I chose not to. There's just no way. And last part of the story. So I actually had somebody, I'm going to stay away from the personal caricature. I like to do that to kind of describe the mental picture, but I won't do it in this case. So let me just put it this way. I had a woman from that system, academia, whose son was doing amazing, and we changed the curriculum in the middle of a course. We started out doing Java, and because I felt like, to be complete, it would be a good thing. I still think Java has redeemable qualities, and I want to get to that later. But we started teaching Java, and I had a revolt on my hand, literally. 8 of my smartest people, anybody out there listening right now who was in that group, I think Gabe was actually in that group, and they said, no, we can't do this. This is horrible. This is the worst language I've ever seen. And they had already learned, JavaScript and Python and Bash, and I said, okay, y'all want to learn Go instead? They goes, yes. And so they revolted. And so we changed the semester in the middle into a Go class. And we really quickly caught up on all the stuff that we did in Java. And we redid it in Go, and we did the rest of the class in Go, and they went on to do amazing things, all of them. But the point of the story is that this one mom wasn't having it. They came to me, she kind of cornered me, and she said, wait a second, did you just change your entire course curriculum in the middle of the course? You can't do that. And I went, I just did. So I was like, oh, why can't I? And she's like, you just can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I can, and it's like, call it whatever you want, call it agile education or whatever, it's like, I was like, no, we adapt in our industry. You learn to adapt or die because this industry is changing so fast. So does anybody else have any thoughts on that topic before we leave out there? And You like the Golang class? We're going to do that, by the way, in the boost. I'm going to plug the boost again. Sundays, 2 to 6. We're going to be doing the boost, and we're going to be doing Golang in at least 2 weeks. Has anybody ever run into the problems with traditional academia? Do we have any other educators in here? What is accreditation, and why should I care or not care? How about that? That's the question. I'm making up questions on like fake questions, so that people know what the video is about. Maliba says, I was involved setting up a new subject on human-computer interaction, working on the materials with lead professor, but getting the things approved was horrible because it was a tedious process. We never wanted to go through them again. So basically, you're punished by keeping your courses up to date. Yeah, absolutely. And they paid me like something like 3 or 4K thousand, US, when I was an adjunct at a community college that I later quit. I was like, I cannot do this. This is unacceptable. And they paid me to make their own curriculum. And I gave them the curriculum and I said, here you go, you can use it. And then, I knew that the next year it was going to be out of date, but they didn't care. They paid me the money and went on. Another organization actually offered me to run their whole thing. And I asked them, I said, well, can I teach these same things online for free and keep it open, or can just give you the license? They go, no, absolutely not. Once you give it to us, it's ours and it's copyright. And I'm like, okay, I'll be moving along then. Because what are you going to do? It's like, the copyright thing in the education space drives me nuts. And I'm talking about this because it's what I want to talk about. I don't know if anybody else cares, but, education should be, knowledge should not be held behind, even a $19. Look, people should be paid for their work. I'm not saying that, but I don't know. At what point does it get crazy, right? So does anybody out there do any hiring? Do we have anybody in the audience that does that?
I actually do hiring.
Do you?
I want to cut in the chat. Yeah, I'm part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
In the operations engineering team I'm on is like 30 people, and you'll be surprised. Nowadays, people don't even come and join these interviews because there's so much demand for good people, engineers out there that have good skill sets. So like I had 2 interviews lined up last week and 2 of them didn't even join.
They didn't even show up because there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Wow.
But to touch on it, some people don't even have basic, Linux knowledge. And this is one of the questions me and my senior engineer on the team, he leads the interview. And if he doesn't make it, I'll go and do the interview.
Yeah.
The technical interview. And, just basic, foundations of Linux, people just don't really have it. So it sucks. But, I look for people that have the urge to learn and that are passionate.
I love that.
Those are the people, like my friend, I don't know if I told you, but he started the boost from last year. And the hardest part for him was being able to kind of persevere and be like independent doing it all. Cause it's a lot.
It is. It was a lot, especially last year. Yeah.
The number one skill in IT is being able to read documentation and understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I did
the
research.
To agree with you.
Yeah. Documentation being, everything on the internet. Right? Yeah. One of the reasons I asked about the hiring before we leave the accreditation thing, let me just ask this question really quick. So, have you ever looked to see if their academic credentials were from an institution that was accredited? To what degree does a degree from an accredited institution matter more than something else, or was that even a consideration? If you want to talk about it. I'm not. There's no right answer here. I'm just curious to see. Or do you
have a funny answer? I don't think a lot of people do check, because years ago, my buddy, his dad got a job for the government and lied and said he had a college diploma, and he did not have a. He didn't even have
it. Dude, at Nike we caught a guy actually that put an MCSE stamp on his resume, and
Jesus,
he didn't have it at all. And his defense was, Well, I just put the stamp on it. I didn't say that I got it. And I was like,
Classic.
what?
Classic.
But so, I mean, don't do that. Do I have to tell everybody that?
Nah, don't do that.
Don't. We talk about this all the time. The number one thing you need for employment is trust. You need to create trust by proving that you can do the job. And whatever the job is, even if that means that you're just a really fast learner, like Velocity said, and or that you can have the skill. But if you do things to violate trust in your resume or during the interview, forget it. You're gone. Even if you have the capability to do it, you'll be so fast out of there. Last guy I hired was somebody, Jake the Bird says, last guy I hired was still in college, and he was referred by the guy who hired me, and they went to college together. Nice. Well, that's interesting because it was a human relation that came in. I keep saying this. You can't, you can't, I don't think you can understate how valuable it is to have a personal relationship with somebody who's in the job or a job like it. I personally, every job I've ever gotten, every single one was because of somebody that I knew or that my family knew, that set up the connection, and they were able to run around HR and make sure all that happened. I don't know if that's everyone's story though. Other people have different stories. But trust is a big part of it. So, I like this whole interviewing topic that we're talking about though. I'm going to kind of keep on that. So what is really asked in a technical interview? That's, I don't know what kind of question we're answering there. Just kind of had fun with it. We have some other questions that are completely unrelated, but let's stay with this a little bit longer. What time we got? I got to do a time check. I know. I'm not, this is all real time, so forgive me. 78. Okay. So we have 20 minutes. Yeah. Ish. 20 minutes or so.
I need to put a little clock widget
I
on.
know. I have one. I have one. I just haven't turned it on. My Pomo clock. And I need to put the recording on this screen too. Here we go. So Anya says, we check for accreditation, but people make too big a deal between an average state school versus pseudo Ivy. So I will repeat what you said because Adam ruins college. Do your own, research and watch it if you want. It's on YouTube. And they cite statistics that say that that people that go to schools, a college in particular, make 30% more at every stage in their career, but that the school does not matter. And the conclusion of that episode is that you should go to college, but hey, Jessica and Joe, but it doesn't matter what college, and don't rule out community college, which kind of troubles me because I've seen the content that's taught, because I actually taught for 2 community colleges, and I think college is just a place to get resources and access to people, not necessarily all the other good stuff that's out there. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Let's ask that question. Should you go to college? I know that's one that's been asked a lot, but this is a good time to ask it, I think.
Is it cool if I chime in on this?
Yes, please.
Cool. So going to college is one whole other completely crazy question, but I think going to certain colleges do matter because you get value. Like, for example, I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but I had a friend that did, for computer science, and that, first off, all the classes are smaller, so you get more kind of interaction with your professor, and being able to raise your hand and ask for help. It's a lot easier to do, and you're definitely getting better education.
Well, it depends on the college, right?
They pull people like Rob into lectures, SMEs, and certain aspects of whatever it is, if it's infrastructure engineering or Python guru, and they pull these SMEs in and for a whole lecture and talk. And that's stuff that they don't do at community college. They don't do at universities.
That's true.
At least that I saw. But,
yeah. It's I do have a video out there that says don't go to college, and I do say that it's kind of a personal decision, but I mean, it depends on a lot of things. For me, the number one factor today in America, and we always have to remember to talk about this in terms of the country. Every time we have this conversation on Twitch, somebody who's our, we have a regular community member, and I can't remember the name right now. Hey, Bonjoni, how are you? Welcome to the chat. If you want to come in and chime in and say something, we'd love to have you. Just let me know. Just raise your hand in Discord. We can invite you. But we always have an international person who says, college is free. Why would you not go? And it always just like floors me every time. We have one specific person though, whose question is, should I stop going to college? They have like something like 3 or 4 degrees, and they've been going to college for like 6 or 7 years, and there's no motivation for them to stop because college is free in the country, and so they just keep going to college. Just keep going to college all the time. Like, I would go to college my entire life.
It's so bad, man. And I'm sorry to keep on chatting on this, but I have a friend who went to university with me, and he didn't get a job right away. He has his bachelor's. So now he's thinking that if he gets his master's degree, he's just going to randomly, luckily just fall in and get a job. And this is where someone's in the chat, networking is such a big thing. If it's from your family or someone you meet at a gas station, wherever the hell it is, because before this job years ago, I was working in IT and literally learned nothing there and did everything. I was self-taught. So that's why from an IT perspective, I definitely think, if you go to college, you're paying for the experience, right? You're paying, for that experience. And that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, so. I agree. I agree. I've said that many times, but I do. I just the fast version of this. So my son and I were wondering about this because he was headed off to college and trying to make the decision himself. And we ultimately came up with 4 reasons to go to college, to get a skill, to meet people in network, like you've said, to, what was the one? To find yourself. So that's the thing. That was my favorite thing about college, was exploration of who I am. What do I want to be? What do I believe? What kind of sex am I going to have? That kind of thing. I didn't. A lot of people do a lot of exploration in college. So that's the thing. And the fourth is, learning how to do your own laundry, which is kind of a joke, but it's being on your own. It's the whole adulting thing, right? And the point I make every time I bring this up is, you can learn those 4 things other ways. You can go do a hostel trip across Europe. You can, travel the world. You can join the military. You can go on a religious mission. I mean, there's a million ways for you to learn these things. Not a million, but there are many other ways besides college. So as soon as you add the price tag of college to the thing, it just so happens that college is very conveniently set up to do all of those things together. And I absolutely loved my college experience because I found, a group that I kind of fell in nice with in the honors department. But I didn't really graduate with honors. But it was the people, the teachers and people in the honors department that were kind of separate from the mainstream BYU people that I really bonded with, and we had a lot of really positive. My fondest memories are the people, and them challenging me to think about new things. And I mean, imagine that happens elsewhere, but colleges are supposed to do that. I mean, it was only cost me $20,000 to do it. If I had to pay $250,000 to, go sit on an arch in Moab and write poetry, no.
Rob, what I don't like about college and going off is the competition and the stress that parents put on their kids. It's actually very, very bad because you put your kids in a stressful environment where it's like, well, if they don't go to college, then they're a failure. And so I think parenting, it's also hard to be a parent, right? I don't knock any parents out there, right? It's fucking,
it is.
Each child is a new fucking mission.
Oh yeah.
So being able to say, hey, it's okay. I don't care if you're a janitor, a painter, an engineer, science, it doesn't matter. I just want you to have fun. What you do, it's hard to instill that humility in a kid that's like growing, right? A teenager.
Yeah. And we have the whole generational thing too, right? So my parents and their parents, I mean, college was not an option. I mean, it was, you went to college. I mean, that was the thing. And it's funny because it's also a cultural demographic thing, I mean, I don't know, but I imagine that there are, demographics that are perhaps represented here that we're not talking about, that they don't, college either isn't an option, it's European, and everybody goes. I mean, it's like military service, and there are certain countries that military service is mandatory. Here it's not. Mm-hmm. So I think college unfortunately gets, I mean, let's just be honest, college has gotten lazy. I mean, colleges have gotten lazy. I talk to professors all the time that are friends from my wife and others, and when you get them, candidly talking about it, even without a drink in them, they will tell you all kinds of stuff. And I actually was going to go become a professor. I thought maybe I'd get my PhD. I see that Anya did the PhD thing for a while too, and I thought that was the route to go. That I could help people, and then they were like, no, you would die under the bureaucracy of the whole thing. You would not be able to take it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Rob.
Yeah, I
left the university about 2 years ago, and it seemed to becoming just a diploma mill.
Yeah, that sounds kind of sad, but hopefully that will change. Yeah. I don't know if the privatization of some of this tech education is going to improve that or not. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'll talk about it all night. I don't know if you saw, but everybody is doing that. Let me read some comments here. Let's see. You're exposed to new people and cultures in college. Oh, yes. Yes, I went to BYU, Bonjoni. Yes, I did. Let's see. Armadillo Rancher says, I found that self-taught programmers underestimate the value of college. You touch on a lot of the broad topics you wouldn't otherwise. Yeah, the broader things, like knowing what you don't know. David Hergenson says, going to college shows you can set a goal and complete a long-term upon graduation. And you know what? That is a parent talking. David, I'm not picking on you, but I don't know how many times I've heard somebody say, and I'm going to challenge it. This is just being devil's advocate. I'm not attacking anybody here, but I have heard so many times the people say that college is to teach you how to think. How many have heard somebody say that? Anybody want to raise their hand? They say that college is the place
how to be independent.
How to be independent. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you. It tests you, to be on your own and your new ideas and be a critical thinker. And that's why I love Dead Poet Society so much, because he does that in the boarding school level. I think that's BS myself. I think if anything, college, and I know this because I have a ex-brother-in-law, who dropped out. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Off the chart brilliant kid. Did not fit the mold for college. And he dropped, he went to the military. And that made me crazy too, because he's not a military guy either. He's kind of a rebel. And so what am I saying? I think that college filters out a lot of people. And so the people that are left are the people that either learn to swim. By swim, I mean, get an A and know they go to the math lab and do the practice instead of just stick with a lecture like I had to do. They have to innovate. They have to figure it out. They have to figure, I got to learn. I'm going to die here academically and potentially, financially if I don't figure this out. And so it throws them in this big pool and it says, okay, go swim, fishies. And if those who can't swim fall to the bottom, and you don't ever see them. And the thing I hate about that is because, this is one specific case where he survived it, by the way. And he also said F you to his family and to the church that was telling him what to do and everything. And he made his own way and married the person he wanted to marry and lived a very happy life. And I really hate that I don't know him anymore because of the divorce. But the point I'm making is that I'm not sure completely that the statement about college teaching you to think is not more of, well, we only see the people who survive. I got filtered out of Physics 101 because I did not have the brain to do that. And I know that there was some professor someplace who set up this really intense curriculum and just sat back and going, oh, look, only 10% made it. Well, they must be the ones who really want it, or the ones that are smart enough.
Well, to touch on that is like college, university, if you're in let's be honest, if you're in a rigorous program, it's got to be in your heart. It's got to be in your core. Like, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But mean, there's so many. It's like it's not just one topic. Like education's so broad. Like I had an argument with a family member. I'm saying they need to revamp public education. Like if English is taught from first grade to 12th grade, I think computer technology, like you can argue this, computer technology should be started from first to 12th grade because you're going to have people that are going to be able to self-think, troubleshoot, and and then they can figure themselves out. Like,
Absolutely.
okay, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah,
So there should
we
be
need more trades.
yeah, there needs to be trade schools for like ninth,
Yes.
12th grade. Okay, well, I don't know if I really like the college thing. There
Yep.
needs to be more counselors. There's a lot of mental health issues. There's so many fucking problems. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
there really
this is
are.
where
You know what's
the
funny
parents
is,
are like,
you say the
you don't
word
go to
trade.
college.
Yeah, you say the word trade, and I guarantee you that at least one other American listening to this automatically went, ew. There's something about the word trade schools that, and I don't know if it's the people I've been hanging out with or not, but people look down on trade schools in America.
Just stupid. Like, dude, if you're
It's
a good
so
electrician,
stupid.
you get paid over 100 G's. Like,
It's just, it's so stupid, and people don't even look at it. And in fact, my wife brought this to my attention. I think I talked to you about this before, but they're okay. So so in Michigan, this is a specific example. So Michigan, they cannot get electricians. All right, they cannot get them. So Michigan is paying people to go to school. They're paying them $16 an hour to go to school to learn the trade so that they can walk into a job immediately and make $75 an hour as an electrician. All paid for. And nobody knows about it. And if they do know about it, there's a stigma against the trades. And I'm like, look, if you have a stigma against the trade, then fine. Don't become whatever you think is bad. Become an electrician and then go into low voltage wiring and then become a computer engineer. And oh my God, I mean, you're going to finance all your own education. So I really hate that that's a thing. I hate that
you're
trades
bringing
are
up good points, Rod. And what I said is there needs to be more counselors at school. You can't have 8 counselors for 2,500 students, right? Like to track all of them. Like if you want to have
the teachers should be the
counselors.
counselors. I think there should be more counselors than there should be teachers. Actually.
Yeah, well, and this is the problem: is these teachers are wearing multiple hats. They're like a counselor and a teacher and a mentor because there's not enough counselors.
And it's all unofficial.
We're going through that problem where I'm
and it's just like, so I'm taking.
They're combining schools and cutting, expecting teachers to wear multiple hats.
All right, absolutely.
And they don't get paid enough, man. And
no, they don't.
Absolutely.
It's just so many issues, man.
And they have to have all these skills that they're not taught, I did look at what it would take to become a teacher. There's something, by the way, in IT, if anybody out there is interested in America and becoming a part of the education community, which is really rough, but if you're interested in doing it, there is a program called Lateral Entry, that's supported at least in North Carolina, that's designed for people from the trade, from the industry, to fast track them to get their teaching certificate if you actually want to enter into the system. And I it was actually a teacher that I met on Twitter who helped me understand all of these things that I started a company with. And long story, a lot of drama there, but that was where I originally started, and then I ultimately concluded that I could not operate within the requirements of the existing education system. It was just so messed up and so full of broken bureaucracy that I made my own school and couldn't call it a school. You can't use the word school, by the way. If you use that word, you get all kinds of federal regulation and stuff that comes after you. So I just called it a learning community, and we had parties and gamed and learned, and now my people, most of them, are on to good things. So hopefully we can put pressure on the existing systems to figure this out. I mean, even conversations like this, hopefully somebody will pick it up. Let me read a couple more comments here. I think we're pushing the time here, but let's check. So let's see here. Let's see. So one of the leads, Malua says, one of the leads of a research project told me, don't waste your life as a PhD. Best recommendation I ever got. Job in IT is more rewarding because you do stuff that's used and valuable. In other words, you do practical things. PhDs are for academic things, usually. And anyway, Akip says, how would you learn, how hard would it be to learn a college level education is self-taught method? I don't know, but I would suggest that you could learn everything you could learn from college. The problem with the whole system is that people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they need to learn, and that's something I've been focused on a lot. Trying to create lists of things that you need to learn in terms of tasks in an IT profession. But in other careers and professions and areas, I imagine just having a list of the things that you should do is a starting point. It doesn't have to be a course. It could just be, you make sure you read Vonnegut, make sure you do this, if you want to do Dostoevsky, if you're Russian, I think the follow-up question is, how would you teach Russian, right? If I was going to learn Russian right now, college level Russian, I would move to Russia. I mean, not now, obviously, but I mean, the best way to learn any language and culture is to move there and read the literature, read the modern literature, read the old literature, and just get a dictionary and go to town. And that's a very Socratic way of doing it, but that's what Socrates would say. He would say, learn enough to immerse yourself in the tech, whether it be trade or language or cuisine for that matter, and just go there and learn it and do it and experience it. RWX, read about it, research it, write about your stuff, and then experience it, experiment, explode things. Still going with the comments here. You give me Gideon Goddard vibes. Well, hopefully I don't get shot through the throat. Spoiler alert. Yes, that is a Mr. Robot poster right there. Yeah. I just watched the last episode last night, by the way, for the 5th time in a row. Hello, Elliot is the name. It might be the reason I was so weird this morning, if you watch the VOD, but oh well. My cousin who went to trade school for HVAC made more than I did very recently, and I have a master's in science, computer science. Yeah, I mean, yes, you notice my poster? Okay. School levels are difficult to pass in most countries in the United States. Yeah. Gideon was a good guy. Yeah, he was definitely a good guy. Guy Fawkes, oh yeah. Did you see the other one? Did you see the Bella Ciao one? Right there? Anyone know what that's from? What mask? What show is that mask from right there? It's like in my ear right now. Right there. Apparently Italians hate Bella Ciao.
Oh, that's from Heist.
Yeah. There you go.
It's a good show.
I love that show, man. I got so into that show. Yeah, the Spanish bank thing. Yeah, I thought it was Portugal.
Like true events. Did you know it was based off like a true story kind of, or true events?
Was it? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I really like that a lot. Anya says, where do you stand on privatization of education? At the Casa de Papel. Yes, absolutely. Makes me want to watch it again. I don't know why I love it so much. I think it's just got so much passion. It's just so wonderfully written. Yeah. If you haven't seen La Casa de Papel or The Heist, I recommend it. It's pretty good. If you like those kind of, fight against the institution kind of things, it's a good one. We're getting low on time, but let me ask, let's see. What do I think of privatization of education? Let me put that in the list here. So I'm going to make a question for that. Let me write it here really quick. Where do you stand on privatization of education? Anybody have an opinion on that they want to throw out into the ring first? It's a complicated one. We have companies running our education. What's going to happen? I have a question for you. Is education already privatized and we just don't know it? Is there money running the show behind the scenes that we just aren't aware of? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in academia. I'm certainly not an academic administrator. But there's definitely money changing hands a lot through donations and through. What I don't understand is how much money America puts into football. And I'm not going to pick on football. I'll pick on football another day. But the amount of money that goes into sports in colleges and in high school. I mean, the highest paid position in most high schools, second to the principal, is the high school coach, is the head coach. Highest paid position. So, I mean, that's kind of a question about sports and education, but I think it's relative to privatization of education, because I think there's more money changing hands in academia than we are made to be fully aware of. And I think that dark money, just like everything else in America, is running the show. That's what's deciding what's taught. I mean, if you look at, for example, if I'm picking on the University of North Carolina, I have no information to go on this, so please don't sue me. My son was going there for his computer science 101 class, and there's a school, this is a true story, there was a classroom of like 40 students, and they asked the beanie, has anyone programmed before? And he was the only one who raised his hand. He could have tested out of that 101 class. Instead, they made him pay $2,000 for it, and just to get the grade so that he could move on to the next class. And while I was I drove him to school, and so while I was in the hallway, I noticed the bulletin board was full of information from all of the local industry in Charlotte. Bank of America, I'm going to pick on them, and a bunch of others, insurance companies, all these really amazing companies, by the way, that pay very well if you're willing to sell to E-Corp. And then I look at the curriculum, the outline, and I'm looking, this curriculum is tailor-made to create people that these companies want, because these companies are heavy Java companies, very heavily oriented toward Java and toward these other things. And you could look at the curriculum, you can see that the curriculum itself had been influenced by the industry in the area. And so that only leaves you to conclude one of two things. One, the educational, technology consultants or whatever, the advisory consultant committee that most of these colleges have to help them make these decisions is heavily populated with people from that industry, and the college is just trying to prepare people for the local community, which is fine. Or they're just paying them off directly, and they're saying, look, if you teach these things, we'll tell you what to teach and we'll give you more money. And I don't know that that's happening. I absolutely don't know that that's happening, but I have a feeling it's a little both. And endowments are a huge portion of the funding. Universities are influenced by sponsors for the localized jobs. Yeah. Because the local, and look, I am not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's fair to say that the purpose of a local college is to educate people in the jobs needed for the local economy. So teaching only Java and mostly Java in Charlotte, like 10 miles from the biggest financial center in America, short of New York, which is true, is fair, and that's the right way to do it. But to say that it's not been privatized, okay, officially it hasn't been privatized. It hasn't been privatized officially, but I'll tell you what, it's been influenced so much by money that it's practically privatized. And I imagine that's why when like Google or Amazon starts doing their own free university, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, go for it. Because at that point they're like just owning it. They're like, you know what? We don't have enough people who can use our services and sell these services to other people, so we're going to train you on it for free. And I have no problem with that. Do I think everybody should do that? Maybe not, but I don't want to see a world where there's only 3 or 4 players in the market, but I would rather have Google's or GitHub set up an educational curriculum that's going to get people jobs at GitHub or Microsoft or in the tech industry and have it be very overt than to have to guess where the money's coming from in the local university that you're going to get government grants. And the fact is they get so much money. Is GitHub University privatization of education? Let me ask you, what do you think? Is GitHub University privatized education? Would that fall under the same banner of that? I think it's a variation of it. Trade schools are great, as are company partnerships. But school is bigger than training for one position. Critical and analytical thinking is important. Good point. That's a good point. Oh my God, that's such a good point, Anya. Does GitHub, I'm picking on GitHub University because it's like a really, visible one. I have nothing bad to say about them at all. But are they teaching you critical thinking, or are they just teaching you how to, the specific task needed so that they can sell their product? And if so, is that bad? And then you have the kind of in between there, right? You have all of the foundations, like the Cloud Native Foundation, that makes money teaching you about cloud native technologies. And I don't know. I did go through some of the cloud native training and through the Cloud Native Foundation, and I was unimpressed. I was like, this isn't even relevant, because like everything else, they can't keep up. L-A-T Leah Tap, how do I say your name? It's bad if you teach ignorant people what they don't know they want. Maybe in the future they will want to move on to bigger world. This is true. Very complicated situation, Akip says. True. Nuke the Bunny says, I would rather have the schools listen to employers about what they need than schools push their own ivory tower stuff with no one wants to hire. Yeah, it's that whole... honestly, it's the corporate world or the working world, the industry is practical by definition to a fault, right? They only care about producing value and profit. That's their thing that drives them. And if you look at academia, traditional academia, all they care about is thinking about what should be done differently. And at least traditionally, they have not been into the practical applications of the ideas that they're talking about. So like, it's up to you to come up with the practical applications of that. So there's this disconnection, and there's this like rift, actually, pretty serious rift between, and frankly, that's what people say about community college, is that it has the hope of mending that rift. Our community college is going to become the, forgive my language, bitch of, industry and doing what they want, or do we just let industry teach us what they want us to learn? We still have to have think tanks, and that's another purpose that academia serves. Colleges are a place where really intelligent people who like to sit in a room and just think about the possibilities do that, and they get paid for it. And we need that. And the thing that attracts me to college is that. The ability to just like decompose an idea and just dwell on it for like hours and months at a time, and try to just think through all the possibilities. One of the reasons it attracts me to Twitch, because I can come in here and I can throw these ideas out and we can have a conversation. Let's see. Lee Atep. Did I say that right? Okay. Many Mangoes says, the reality is people will take on a lifetime of debt for a useless degree and they won't get a job. I hate to say it, but that is absolutely right. Although engineering degrees really don't seem to help for jobs, but there are lots of useless degrees. That's true. By useless, I don't know. Do I consider my Russian degree useless? No. I'm drinking Smirnoff and I can read the label. Come on. I don't know what it means. Smirnoff vodka made in USA. There's no Russian on here. I was hoping to find some Russian. Where's the Russian? I don't see any. Damn. Why didn't they write like 100 proof in Russian? That would have been really cool. Oh well. Gluten-free. Hey everybody. Vodka is gluten-free, just letting you know. And on that note, it's probably time for us to wrap up. What do we got going here? Nuke the Bunnies is saying some other things here. Let's see. I agree there needs to be feedback between the two. It's interesting seeing how functional programming is finally actually going mainstream after living in Ivory Tower for decades. You're talking about Lisp at MIT, who switched to Python as the first language now? Although Many Mango says, although engineering degrees really do seem to help for jobs, there are many useless. Oh, we read that one already. Okay. But is Russian useless? Maybe in the workplace, but you learn other skills. See, and that's the thing I want to say. There are other reasons to go to college. I don't regret my college experience for a second, but I also don't have a mountain of debt. My family was poor, so I didn't have to pay anything. Out of my pocket, I was able to get Pell Grants. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college and came out with $8,000 worth of debt. That was it. And that was a 6-year degree where I started in physics, then I went to computer science, then I went to French, and then I went to Russian. And I even begged the counselor on the way out if I could go back and learn Chinese. He was like, no, accounting. Because BYU has like the number 2 accounting school in the world. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to learn something that actually makes money. It's the 1980s. I'll learn accounting. I was like, oh shit, I have to actually work now. And then I took unemployment. I went to work for a company. I went for a company for a year. And after that, that was it. I had to take unemployment for a full year because I couldn't get a job. I had a job for one company that was like doing, Russian cruises and all that. It was really great. I did an interview with the NSA and the CIA. And that was it. That was it. And then internet came around. Some internet company opened up right next to my apartment, and I literally walked in the door, and I said, "Are you an internet company?" And they said, "Yes." And they said, "We're just starting up. Would you like to help us?" I said, "Sure." They said, "We need a director of web technology." And I said, "I know how to use the blink tag. You want to see? And backgrounds." And I got a job. I became their director of sales / webmaster. And so I think the story there is, it's about opportunity. It's about, but college, did college prepare me for that specific tech career? Not really. It was all the jobs I did while I was working there. I worked for the computer science lab, the computers and languages lab. That's what prepared me for my job. And if there's one moral of the story that comes out of this, I'm going to say this. I say this every time. My ex-wife so strongly disagrees with me on this, the Karen that she is, but I'm going to tell you what I think. Make sure you work while you're in college. Because if anything, number one, working in college will give you perspective for the things you're learning. 2, it will be a financial fallback in the event that something goes wrong with your college. And 3, it will show your potential employers after you leave and you have college that you had the will and determination to work while you were still in college. And I believe that if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong personally, if you're going to go to college. I just do. My ex-wife was like, no, you should save up all your money and your parents should help you and you should pay to college so you can focus entirely on college and you shouldn't have to think about work. You should be able to disengage from the concerns about the monetary world and just think entirely about your subjects and immerse yourself completely. And how's it going, Jin TTY? And I don't buy into that. I personally have never bought into that. You'll need to focus on research. Yeah, for graduate studies, I think you might be right. So, yeah, this is a good question. So should I work? Let's put that in there, and then we'll leave it at that. Should I work while I'm attending college? And we'll end with this question. So what do you think? Yes, definitely work, Anyaski says. All the kids I know who worked through college were so much more mature. Why is that, though? I wonder. Many Mango says... let's see. Oh, Pseudomaze said, I think people who got by their lives automatically without having goals and quality and quantify their changes every stage of their lives won't be bothered by these details. Make university free solves the issues. Yeah, I mean, would it though? I think we'd have different problems. Everybody would stay in college forever. Or not, I don't know. Let's see. ZQ says, I'm working and work is paying for my college. Well, that's still a thing for some people. Definitely work. And yes, says, all the kids I know who work through college are much mature. I read that one. For undergrad, yes. For graduates, no. They need to focus on research. And I agree. I agree with that. I didn't go for a graduate degree. I mean, yeah. At a certain point, you want to kind of dismiss yourself. I mean, that's why the idea of like a coding retreat that like Hackerspace does, which has a new name now. It's in New York. I forget the name. Only to those with student status. Interesting. Did not know that. So, yeah, I don't know. I the thing that I didn't like about college courses is that I would get really, people know this about me, but I would get really into one thing, and I would get myopic about it. I couldn't do anything else. And I would let my other grades go because I didn't care about that. But I'd turn in like a 40-page paper for something that was like 8 pages because I was so interested in a specific topic. And I understand that college has changed. Dartmouth, for example, has an open curriculum where you just go there and do whatever. They give you a degree. I don't even know what it looks like. Does anybody know what that is? I think work during undergrad is best, especially if it's your field, because it'll force you to maintain a good time management schedule. I agree. Balance work, present, push life. I agree. You might not have as much time to party and go to Florida, booba events and stuff like that, but are you going to be worse off for that? Probably not. My buddy who's a surgeon now, really successful surgeon in Utah, he was obsessed. He wouldn't even come back to the apartment because he was so obsessed with learning. And he really kicked butt. He's one of the better surgeons in the region now. And he I don't know how many cleft palates he fixed on his way to becoming that. He didn't talk about it a lot when I saw him last, but he went to Africa and fixed a bunch of cleft palates as part of his post-residency stuff. And to get to practice, he was a head, nose, and throat surgeon. And talk about practical example. He went down there and did all these free surgeries to practice, the techniques to deal with the face and to correct the palates and everything. So he was constantly performing all these surgeries, made him really, really amazing as a surgeon. So it just terrifies me thinking about what he had to do, though. I could never be a surgeon personally. At 18, there's no way I would be responsible enough to design a useful college curriculum. Working through college humbles you. I think that's true. Respect for surgeons, the amount of hours they put in to deal with. Yeah, what they have to deal with is true. Yeah. Some of this stuff, he didn't ever show me pictures, but he would get the automobile accidents. So they would come to him and they'd be, totally mangled, completely indistinguishable as human beings, and he would fix them. And that's just an absolute miracle that he could do that. The fact that anybody can do that now is just a miracle to me. But there's just no way I could do it. I don't have the stomach for it. The amount of stress. I have a hard time with the stress of just writing, good code. The stress of somebody dying on my table. But apparently doctors dismiss themselves from this. They have to, right? Because they're going to have failures and people are going to die. And it just blows my mind. That's probably a topic for another day. But it just blows my mind that people can, any of the professions that deal in life and death directly, military, police, EMTs. I actually talked to an EMT in Second Life. This is a true story. I met a woman in Second Life who was an EMT, and she shared a lot of, confidential stuff with me about her obsession with gore. I don't know how I got on this. Probably the vodka, but she was obsessed with gore, and so she would go, she would arrive on a scene and it would be all bloody and stuff, and she was like, the bloodier the better. She loved it. She absolutely lived for it. She lived for sticking her hands in there and shutting veins down and like closing. The story she told me, it was just absolutely terrifying. So apparently there's people who get up. That's the wrong term. There's people who, I don't know what else to say. They just really, really enjoy a particular angle of work. So there. I don't know if I want to read that. It creates an issue because some surgeons may be getting sleep deprived, which probably makes them more likely to make mistakes. Yeah, like leave a clamp in somebody's chest. My friend told me about his buddy that did that. Yeah, he maintained a different sort of atmosphere in his ER. His surgical room was more friendly and less militant. and the guy ended up leaving a clamp in the guy's chest. Yep, because they were more, because he's mean. He's really mean. When he starts to do a surgeon, he actually told somebody to get the fuck out once by saying, say please, because this new person in there had no idea what was going on. And like, they were very militant when they started a surgery, and they would still try to be nice. I told this, and there was another surgeon once who said, that's bullshit. You don't have to be that mean. You could have been polite there. And my friend is not, he's a friendly guy, homecoming king and all kinds of things, but he's just not, when it comes to surgery, he's not very friendly. ER nurses that look at some horrible gore stuff on Reddit all the time. Really? It's like they like it for some reason. It's like they're able to deal with it. Some surgeons may be getting sleep. Yeah. Anyway, that's a weird place to end this, but I guess we're gonna end it now. Velocity, if you haven't fallen asleep, you and Matt, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
I don't always say thank you at the end, but I'm doing it today. Thank you to our Discord audience over there as well, Bajoni, I see you, and David. And to everybody else who's participated. I mean, I personally find a lot of value in these conversations, so enough for me to do it every day for an hour. So join me later for that. I don't know what's coming later on tonight. I may or may not go get a fridge tonight. I might save that for tomorrow. We'll see. Long story. I'll have to let you tune into the VOD for that. So on that note, YouTube, see you later. Stop on by our Twitch if you want to join our community and have fun, and check out the many people who are here who also stream besides me. And I'm going to end on that. Bye.